Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Eric, the dude who grows food, and today is a bit of a follow-up to the last video I posted where I was sort of questioning whether or not I was going to lose the 2025 garden because about a week ago, it was Monday the 10th through Tuesday the 11th. We wound up probably touching 32 degrees around 9 o'clock that night, getting down to about 28, 27 by the following morning at its low. So I think we had about 12 hours of freezing temperatures, and I knew that was going to crush the hot season stuff like the peppers and the black-eyed peas, the beans, the okra. Everything that was still standing was pretty much going to be gone. So Monday I spent my time in the garden getting all that out with a little bit of the cool season stuff that I was worried might get hit harder than I wanted to. But all's well that ends well. Indiana Funny Farm gave me the heads up that she thought things were going to be okay, and she was right. I was very thankfully wrong because I still have things to harvest and eat fresh from the garden. So today I want to walk you around and show you what's doing well, what's doing a little less than well, and some thoughts as to why. So as we enter the garden, we've got our garlic beds on the left-hand side, and you can see they're still green. They're going to do just fine. Garlic is relatively, in this climate, bulletproof to the cold. It's not going to really get hit by anything too heavy. I don't even mulch it during the snows and the 13-degree days that we have. Well, 13-degree nights that we're going to have at some point, during the winter. I don't worry about that at all. They're going to be just fine. Pathway stuff is doing still beautifully. I'll tell you, the thing that I really struggled with in this cold wasn't necessarily the cold. I mean, some of the leaves on some of this cooler season stuff got beat pretty good. But coming out of that, we wound up, gosh, for the last 7 days with relatively sustained 10 to 20 mile an hour winds with some pretty heavy gusts. And that really just takes all the energy out of these leaves. It really just dries them out like crazy, to where by the following morning they're still kind of limp. Now some of them regain moisture and hold on really well, but some of them just don't. The broccoli did okay. Oh, I got a beautiful head of broccoli right there to harvest. I probably cut about 8 or 9 of those good looking ones, and they're starting to get some side shoots now as well. The beets, they took a bit of a beating with the cold and some of that wind. So you can see this is a really nice looking leaf, but I can tell, and it's only about 10 o'clock this morning, that it's just not, it might have gotten hit pretty good by the cold. So it's still totally edible as far as the beet green goes, but we can see that they're just not, they got hit pretty good. But the actual plant itself is fine. The beet underneath the ground is fine. But the leaf itself, the moisture level was compromised by either the cold, the wind, or by both. Another bed of beets. The Daikon's doing absolutely fine in this one. A brief interlude filmed after the tour, but I was walking around the garden, I saw this, and I gotta grab it to figure out, you'll see. Okay, so there it is, folks. Quite possibly the biggest daikon I've ever grown. Okay. That's over 2 feet. That's as wide as my hand. So you are seeing this live action with me, because I have not done this yet. 3,200 grams, 7 pounds, 1 ounce. He looks like he's flexing, and I think he's earned the right. Sugar snap peas, which weren't doing great to start, they got hit. I meant to harvest them before the freeze because I think the pods didn't do so hot. In general, I don't think these things are going to give me much more this season, so I may just call it on them. Another bed of daikon. They're doing absolutely fine. I can see some of the lower leaves are getting aged out, but you can still see these upper leaves. Still a little weak, but they're holding up okay. This is the end result, folks, for plants that are hot season, warm season, that don't take the cold. This is what they look like when they actually freeze into frost. So I got all the peppers off that I could, that I found, and now I just got to go through and clear all these out. Pathway cilantro is, gosh, chest height now. This mustard that bolted is sitting up just at my chin level. Brussels sprouts, they did okay in the cold. I can see some of the forming of possible sprouts. I don't know if and when they're going to finish. The mustard in the back is doing just fine as well. The Brussels sprouts, the asparagus, at some point I got to chop this stuff out, but I keep seeing occasional new shoots coming out of the ground, and I don't necessarily want to stop it from photosynthesizing to build that root system, so I may give this another month before I cut that back to the ground. Blackberries are bulletproof against those kind of cold nights, and the wind is doing no damage to them at all. Coming back to this side, this is where I notice more of the wind damage on brassicas. This is a yellow mustard, and again, it's one of those that I haven't harvested off of it yet, but this would typically be a much, more turgid leaf, and it definitely got kind of battered and bruised around a bit. This took the worst of the damage. This is the watermelon radish, and you can see the actual radishes are doing just fine. All those leaves, be it the cold or the wind. Actually, I came out the day after on that Tuesday morning, and these leaves look just as bad. I'm gonna say that there's a chance they could push out some new. They could push out some new growth. I can see new leaves in there, so they're okay. But the actual existing leaves for this particular variety of Daikon, again the Chinese meat radish, the watermelon radish, didn't take that beating very well. It didn't like that. But that's just fine because I'm not doing much with those greens right now because I'm sitting on plenty of greens elsewhere. Some of the turnips didn't do so hot in that wind and that cold either. It's pushing out new growth, so they're going to be absolutely fine. The roots are perfect, but they struggled a bit. My bolted lettuce, that's just chicken feed at this point. My brassica bed, still eating from that. Got another 2 pounds of kale this morning for the fridge. Carrots, they're bulletproof. Okra, again, you can just see they froze into frosted, so I got to take all those sticks out now. The Swiss chard did fine. I noticed those leaves. I mean, it's the same family of plant as the beets. Beta vulgaris is the genus and species, and those leaves took a little bit of a beating, but I did a hard harvest on them about 3 days ago, and the leaves were absolutely edible. The remainder of the green beans are toasted. Those flowers, they got toasted. This was the black-eyed peas. I ripped all those out. They're mowed into the compost now. Empty beds. And then a sad sight for me. This was my habanero bed. I pulled 30 pounds out of there that last Monday, the 10th. So I've got, I'm trying to ferment a lot of those right now. I've got my work cut out for me. Strawberries did absolutely fine. I'm suffering some weed pressure in here that I've got to clean out. That's not really that big of a deal since the weeds are slow to grow at this point in the year. And they're only going to get slower because obviously, the plants that you want to grow really well during the cold don't, and the weeds kind of do the same thing. So cold really doesn't do anybody any favors, but it does give us gardeners a bit of a break. This is the beet bed from the spring, still carried to the fall, and you can, again, the beets are fine. These leaves that are more established are limp, but these new leaves coming out are good. Beans, dead. Tomatoes and basil, dead. Fully expected that. Those blueberries, by the way, they, again, being perennial, they're plenty cold hardy. They're not going to have an issue with that kind of weather. More asparagus, fine. My fig, so she's kind of calling it a year at this point. I'm going to go dormant, and then I got to figure out what I'm going to do for pruning this one. I've got to decide whether or not I'm going to leave, how I want to prune this one up long term. I may pull everything off of this plant except for this piece here. I may leave this, maybe the one in the back, and get scaffolding branches off those 2 main branches and keep it smaller in that way. Haven't quite decided yet, but I think a lot of these outer ones I'm just going to take for cuttings. Aronia is doing fine. That's dormant in the winter. Got to clear out that Bermuda grass. The elderberry, dormant for the winter. I cleaned out a lot of the base of those. And then I still have this open area here that I don't know what I'm going to do with. This is turning into more of a tour than anticipated, but a quick one. And the blackberries, again, they did fine. I don't think that anything, I think all the berries that were sitting on the plant, I think I mentioned before, they're not going to ripen up, and they're not going to. Still throwing a couple flowers here and there, but I'm not going to get any fruit off them. But I will say we do have a stretch of weather right now, at least 7 days, where we're not going to touch freezing. It may have touched it this morning for a minute, but at this point, nothing in the forecast is going to stop anything from growing. But whether or not they like the shorter days and the cooler nights is another story. So yeah, that's the current state of the garden right now. It's basically pretty much what it was prior to that freeze. Except for, like I said, you saw some of the leaves on some of the plants here and there are in less good shape than they were before. But again, for my purposes, that really doesn't matter, because as much as I love eating the leaves, I can only get so many of them into the fridge at any given time, and there's still more than enough for me here to eat. So that's all good. The question really comes now as far as what kind of winter projects I've got going on. Got to recompost some beds. I've got to put some wood chips down. One of the most important things I've got to do is actually plan out next year's garden, figuring out what's going to follow what, where I want what. I think next year is going to be a year where I'm going to work harder. It's going to be my first year where I'm going to commit bed space to food pantry donation. So I'm thinking for the spring, things like some spring radish, beets, carrots, turnips. I may do potatoes for them as well. And I say that only because I pulled my potatoes on June 1st this year. So basically I had a March, March, April, May full for the potatoes. And I'm still eating through them. They're kind of wrinkly inside, so I'm popping off the sprouts. They're starting to chip pretty well, and I have to pop those off each time I want to eat some. They cook up fine, but I know they're just it's keeping me from eating my sweet potatoes right now, and I kind of want to get into those at a greater rate. So I'm thinking if I plant the same amount of potatoes next year, I'd probably just take half the harvest right away down to the food pantry, and probably even plant more than that because I've got the space for it now that I'm thinking about it. So I've got to figure out next year how I want to kind of earmark my beds for whom. But yeah, that's kind of what I got going on in the garden right now. Now it's all a matter of getting things cleaned up in the compost, and I don't know, just waiting for the winter to come. It's when things don't grow fast, it can be really tricky to figure out what you want to work on next because you're not really racing the clock. I don't know, that might not make much sense, but it's one of those things where when you have time for everything, it's almost like nothing gets done, and when you don't have time for anything, you can somehow manage to fit things in. So I got to figure out what my schedule is going to be and getting this thing nice and cleaned up. But yeah, that's it for this one. If you have any questions about what's going on, please post below, and yeah, I'll get back with you as timely as I can. If there's anything you want to see out here, any video ideas that you've got, I'm up for suggestions. I've got some things I want to show you, but I also like to take requests, so please feel free to ask. In the meantime, thanks for watching. See you next time.